We still
We
have
still
nothing.
can't
What is
see.
going on?
Is your camera on?
It doesn't have to. It's always
It's
on.
always on.
Why don't we have a camera? Hmm. Hey, Pete, we are having some technical problems, bud. Like, we're still not showing up a camera at all, and this doesn't make any sense.
Screen is black.
Yeah, it's on our end too, and
we can't see anything.
We've tried 2 different cameras, and it's not making any sense. 3 blue dots, that's all we're getting too.
Oh.
Oh, wait, it just had it with Epic Cam. Well, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Now you're looking at our table.
Oh.
All right, well, we'll put it back up here.
Let's try that.
All right.
Yay!
Y'all got us? Oh, there we go.
Oh,
okay,
yay!
So. Okay, you gotta remember to look up there.
Yeah.
Okay, do y'all have us? Can y'all see us? No,
that was fun.
Pete said we got it. Okay, cool.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. So if you caught the 2-minute video there that we did, I apologize. I don't know what was going on for some reason. So we're using the Epic Cam thing, and so it connects to our phone camera since that's a lot nicer camera. And it wasn't wanting to connect, and then now all of a sudden it is. And then we tried to use just the camera that's on the computer, and that one didn't work. And that one's a really that's a low quality video resolution. That's why I didn't want to use that one. So you can see we are out in our bunker.
Yeah.
Let's look a little bit. So this is our guys. We talked about this. Our studio that we're setting up out here to do. So these will be all like tongue and groove pine walls and everything. But this is our actually going to be our classroom for our firing range, and then we're actually going to Airbnb this out. This is actually a little studio apartment, so we'll allow like people to come out and do like farm visits and that sort of thing. And so
take classes.
That's kind of what's coming up in the future here. So I'm just going to give everybody a couple minutes to come in here. Our participation log is different than actually what's in the comments, so we'll give people a few minutes.
Oh, thanks, Pete.
Thanks,
yeah,
Pete.
We're excited about it. We're going to put a wood stove over in this corner, which I love wood stoves.
Yeah, it'll be right behind us, actually.
Oh, right back here?
Yeah, it'll be in this corner here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I might start the brick on that tomorrow.
Yeah,
well, he might.
I might.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll help carry the bricks over. I'll be your muscle.
All right, so you ready to do this?
Yeah.
I think we give enough time for people to come. So people still filter in, I'm sure, but they can go back and watch and catch up. Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
It's 2023, and we have got a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah. Kind of exciting.
Okay. So first thing is the food shortages. We've talked about this like to death all last year, and then we're still seeing it now in the stores. And then I was watching a video the other day on corn shortages and talking about the numbers, which are pretty astounding. I wish I had that in front of me, but it was really interesting to see like the corn reserves that the different governments and these companies have. That we're starting to deplete these corn reserves, and corn is in everything from our fuel that we put in our vehicles to sodas where you're using the corn syrup to obviously corn flour and cornmeal, right, grits, that sort of thing, the baked goods. So corn is in just a plethora of things that we enjoy on a daily basis, and so the fact that we're short on supply means that is going to get offset in other capacities. And so there's going to be other things that are making up for that. If we look at like a net calorie of what the U.S. needs to actually continue to operate, or the global calorie, then corn being down on that list, even if we say, hey, I don't drink sodas, I'm fine without my cornmeal and corn flour and that sort of thing. And the people that need that will be augmenting that with something else. And the businesses, it's not like Pepsi's going to go out of business because they can't put corn syrup in their drinks. They're going to find a substitute and use something else for that sugar flavor. And so that's whatever that comes from, they'll find something to do that with. And so that's where we need to look at it and say like, hey, this is actually a problem because it's
we're having
going to
flour
affect the net calorie.
shortages in general. And I heard sunflower, which we use sunflower in our feed mixes for our livestock.
Yeah.
And that's all being produced, or majority, not all, overseas in that conflict
at least
area.
A plurality of it is produced in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so how much of that is going to be shipped is
Mhm.
anybody's guess, but doesn't look like we're probably going to be getting much from there. So, anyways, that's really interesting. Okay, so we know we've kind of talked food shortages to death, so I don't really want to keep beating the dead horse here. I just wanted to bring this up that it looks like everything is going the way that we were anticipating it going
Mhm.
last year,
Mhm.
and that the tea leaves are showing us that hey, this is actually coming to fruition. We're seeing tomatoes, sunflower, coffee. So you wrote coffee in here.
Right.
That we're,
Well, that we're still having shortages with coffee, or we're going
mhm,
to be in coffee. Um,
is awesome.
yeah, that's what we're drinking right now too. But it doesn't have a very long shelf life too, and that's part of the problem. I know financial prepper. He was talking about that. They had bought a bunch of coffee, and it was starting to go rancid
Mm,
at one time. So that's something we just have to kind of be aware of. I don't know about you guys, but we did a lot of baking during the holidays, and I was really surprised. Our little town in Clanton was completely out of whipping cream. We went
yeah.
to every store in Clanton, and finally we were talking with someone who worked at a grocery store with my mother-in-law, and they said the whole town is out. There's a shortage of whipping cream. So we went to a coffee shop and begged and got some whipping cream for one of the meals that we were wanting for Christmas or New Year's or Christmas Eve. But that was something I hadn't really thought about. I know we've heard about the butter shortages, but I hadn't really thought about whipping cream.
Well, and the butter shortages, it looks like this is all going to continue to get worse because of the issues with the vegetable oil, and a lot of our
Mhm.
butter is actually like a vegetable oil based butter. It's not. If you look at the packages, they're nicer butters is like a actual dairy product, right? A lot of the
Mhm.
stuff that we use is actually like a vegetable oil product that's basically been whipped, and I don't know if I'm assuming they add some dairy butter to it, but I don't know the process of making it, but a lot of it is a vegetable oil base. And again, coming back to the corn and the crop production the
Mhm.
corn and the crop production last year. Um, it's cold here in Lakeland, Florida. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kevin, it's
it's
cold
cold here
here.
too in Alabama. We feel ya.
But so a lot of the crop production that we saw last year is going to continue to affect things like butter, even though it
Yeah.
seems odd that it's going to affect butter, but it will. But it will also affect it because you'll get less production from the dairy farms, and so that's something to think about. Is that dairy farms? So dairy cattle, they have a huge calorie requirement, and
Mhm.
they it's very difficult to raise dairy cattle on pure grass fed, and most dairy farmers don't do it. You have to breed for those characteristics in your cattle. It's a time consuming process, and most dairy farms feed lots of grain because it's one of the only ways they can get all that protein, all
Mhm.
those fats in there. And with them having these different shortages that we had in the grains last
Mhm.
year, that will come into effect our dairy prices coming 2023, simply because those cows are not going to produce as much.
Mhm.
And I'm not so worried about them culling cows, though that is certainly a possibility. A dairy farm that has 200 cows may only be able to support 150 this year or something along those lines. But the bigger issue is that their net gallons produced on an annual basis
Will be
will be
decrease.
substantially lower,
Mhm.
and that's going to show up in prices on the
Mhm.
milk aisle for us. And if you have toddlers around, there's not really a good substitute for milk. If you're trying to get them to gain some weight and to grow,
Yeah.
it's hard to make the substitute. Billy, good to see you, bud. And glad we're kind of back. We did take a lot of
Most of
December off.
December off.
I think we took like 4 weeks off, and guys, truthfully, we just had tons of farm projects, had
Yeah.
family in town. We dealt with a couple deaths in our family. So my
Yeah.
grandfather died, my sister-in-law died, who she's been in our family for I think 20 years.
Yeah. She was young. She was
Yeah,
early 40s.
I think I was 16 when her and Rob started dating. So it was a pretty hard winter for us. And
Yeah.
then my uncle died, though I wasn't particularly close with him. But anyway, so it was just a very long winter in
Mhm.
that sense of things. And so that's part of the reason why we had some trouble getting some videos out. And then we took December off again, just enjoying time with family and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
It was
we're
very
starting to kind
peaceful.
of get caught back up here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
It's a
nice.
nice
We love you
December.
guys, but it was really nice to get a break and not be in
Yeah.
front of the camera all the time. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I'm very photogenic,
Yes, you
but
are. Absolutely.
so, oh, thanks, Pete. Yeah, no, it's, well, we're everybody's healing. I know my brother, he's still having a pretty hard time
Yeah.
with it, but for obvious reasons. But, my grandfather was 97 years old. So it was like,
We knew it was coming.
It was a healthy death for him. He lived a good life. He never had to go to a nursing home. Lived very well up until that point. Still living on his own. Within the last years when he started needing some help at the house, and that's only because he had too much house and everything. So it was. See, Pete agrees I'm handsome.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I do too. No disagreement here.
Okay, so one of the things that we got to do with my grandfather before he passed, though, is he grew up during the Great Depression, and we got to actually sit down with him and do kind of a lessons learned about the Great Depression. And I wish we had been able to put the whole thing on camera, but
he didn't like.
He's not very.
Recorded.
Yeah, he's not.
He wasn't very photogenic.
He's not the one to sit on the camera. Let's put it that way. So, anyways, but he did give us a lot of really interesting lessons about the Great Depression and how they made it through, who suffered, who didn't suffer, and why. And one of the things that he said is that farms did not suffer, and or I shouldn't say didn't suffer. They didn't suffer to the extent that other people did, and they ate. They had food. He said, going hungry was not a problem that they had. They had a pig farm. He said going hungry was not a problem that they had. They were poor. It's not that there was electricity or anything like that. Like he grew up in this little itty bitty shanty of a house with no electricity and a wood burning stove to cook with, which South Carolina, heating with a wood burning stove to cook your food with in the summertime sounds pretty miserable. But it was really, really interesting stuff. So we've kind of been throwing some tidbits of that stuff in as we've done some of these videos. So one of the things on that is kind of talking about water storage. And so y'all know that we just got our well done here on the farm. And if you haven't seen those videos, definitely look back. We've got videos on how exactly we did that. We did have a professional well drilling company to drill the well for us. So there are ways for you to do that yourself. I'd like to have it drilled simply for a time commitment thing. But we hung the pump and dug the water lines and all that stuff. We did all that ourselves. And our well we hung the pump at 240 feet. Will you help?
You did. Yeah, I was there.
It was the well, our well's at 240 feet. The well bottom is at 260 feet. And so storing water is not near as big of a need for us as it was previously when we were on county water, but it's still a need. And one of the things that we're building here is we're building a pond, and realizing that pond gives us the ability if there's a severe drought that causes our well to go dry, or if we just don't want to tap into our well because we're during a drought season, then that gives us some ability to not do that. But it also gives us the ability to produce good fertilized water, right? Because we're putting fish and all sorts of good stuff in there. That water has a lot of nitrogen in it, and it's very, very healthy for your soil. And so it gives us the ability to irrigate our orchard off of some really good quality water, even if we have the well. So that's definitely something that we're looking at. And then, besides just the enjoyment of the fish and everything and being able to fish in there periodically, that's always fun.
We need some cane poles.
Yeah, we do some cane poles. But that pond gives us a lot of capabilities. And so a very, very small pond can hold a massive amount of water. We're talking 50,000 gallons of water.
Well, it's a spring-fed pond. It'll be spring-fed.
Yeah, ours is spring-fed, so ours will always stay topped off. But anyway, so that's one of the things that we have coming. But if you don't have those capabilities, you've got things like water cisterns and stuff like that. I know, Pete, you're out in California, and I know with all the droughts, I guess y'all are dealing with rains now, but with all the droughts you guys have dealt with in the past, some of the things that I thought about without there is how would you store water out there? Well,
can you do a pond? Is a pond an option for you in California?
Well, so there's lots of regulations on ponds because ponds there's so many protective stuff on them. It's very difficult. And like I swear, you cannot build a pond and be in compliance with all the regulations unless you're building it for cattle, which is basically what we're doing, because cattle gives you a lot of exemptions on the ponds. But otherwise, there's no way to do it and be in compliance with all these regulations. You just kind of have to hope you don't get caught with something, which is typical of government regulation. There's so much of it that you're just kind of hoping that nobody notices these ones. But anyway, so ponds are, I know it's very difficult, but I'm not sure if the state regulates yours there, Pete and Callie. Soaked right now, have a little break. Okay, so new EPA regs on waters of the U.S. And so we're actually going to talk about that here in a second when we talk about the government overreach on things. Anyways, Pete, so ponds are a great way of storing some water. And then, like I said, cisterns are obviously an option. Cisterns are a lot more expensive. So for a couple $1,000s, you can put up a pond that'll store 50, 100, 200,000 gallons of water. And then you're going to pay the same amount to get a cistern that holds 5,000 gallons of water. So cisterns are an option, but they're much, much more expensive on the level of how much you're using. And so if you're talking about irrigating and running cattle on it, a pond is about the only way that's feasible. So definitely something to consider there. Okay, so let's talk about the government regulation. We
Overreach.
have all the overreach. So this comes back into ponds. We're seeing this with the bump stocks right now. If you guys haven't caught that, so if you don't know what a bump stock is, it's the little stock that goes on an AR-15, and basically it makes it function similar to a fully automatic weapon because it causes it to actually charge the weapon each time that it's fired. The recoil actually causes it to recock it. So it makes it function effectively like a fully automatic weapon, even though it doesn't technically follow those requirements. They've gone back and forth numerous times for the last 10 years of these stupid pistol braces on whether it's allowed or whether it's not. I'm sorry. I'm talking about bump stocks. It's pistol braces, bump stocks are two different things. I apologize. And they're running together in my mind. It's the pistol braces that the one that the regulation was on, not the bump stock. Bump stocks have already been done. They dealt with that a couple of years ago. So bump stocks are illegal now. But it's the pistol braces. The pistol braces, let me back up here. For those of you that don't know, a rifle is limited in length to 16 inches. It can't be shorter than 16 inches. If it's shorter than 16 inches, it can't have a stock on there so that it can be classified as a pistol. If it has a stock on there, it's considered a short barrel rifle, which means you have to pay a tax stamp on it of $200, and you have to register it. And then you can't take it out of your state without letting the law enforcement know of a continuing state that you're going to. So if I'm like traveling to Georgia, I can't take it with me without letting Georgia law enforcement know. And then it's like, well, which law enforcement do I have to let know? The state troopers, the DA's office? Who exactly am I informing here? And so it's very convoluted. But then, so the pistol brace, what the pistol brace does is it was actually designed to be a brace that clamps around your arm to be able to shoot it like a pistol. But they just happen to design it in a way that allows you to rifle a gun or shoulder the gun to be a rifle.
I thought it was originally to help veterans or people with some
No,
disabilities.
it was always just something they sold it as. It was always designed as a way to shoulder the gun. But they had to give it a legal means otherwise, so it had to have a secondary purpose. Gotcha. And so the ATF has overreached again and has said that is illegal. So there's no law that they can cite behind that. There's no regulatory thing that's already in place. It's just arbitrarily on the whims of the ATF officers to decide, no, we don't want this to be legal now, and we don't like this, which is this is why I hate government regulation, because regulation is not legislation, and it is not okay. It's wholly unconstitutional. County that I will be bringing NFA weapons. Billy, so Billy asked, before visiting your range this spring, would I need to notify the local authorities in your county that I will be bringing NFA weapons? I don't know what the regulation is on that. I believe NFA, if you're traveling out of state, you're supposed to let them know that you're bringing it. But I don't know who you can even let know. I'm not even sure how enforceable this is. Again, that falls under like an ATF regulation as opposed to a legal law. And so it's hard to say, and not something I would be. If I was traveling, I don't think I'd be particularly concerned with it. But again, I don't really use NFA weapons just for the reason.
What's an NFA weapon?
That's like the National Firearms Act. So it's the short barrel rifles and suppressors are the two big ones.
Gotcha. Could he send that through the FFL or?
No. He's talking about traveling here. Does he have to alert the local law enforcement about it? Gotcha. And so truthfully, Billy, I don't know the answer on that. I would think it would be very hard to do anything, and especially coming to a pretty red area down here, I'm not sure I'd be that worried about it. If you were going to California or Colorado or something, you might be a little bit more concerned. But here, I just can't imagine anything happening. But again, that's a legal question. Yeah, so I would, it's kind of one of those things. The disclaimers you have to ask your lawyer type of thing. But anyway, so again, this just shows continual overreach, and then we've got the government now, the administration in power now, or tyrannical government, trying to tell us that we can't have gas stoves. And now they've walked this thing back because there was so much backlash on it. But it's kind of funny because, so Madeleine's a realtor. So tell them about that
so
post.
I had a friend who's a realtor, and she was showing a house in a higher end neighborhood, and her client literally ran out of the house screaming because she saw a gas stove. She was worried with her kids. It was dangerous. There was a gas stove in the house.
It's so ridiculous now. This is just getting bizarre. And these people buying into this it's really sad and really pathetic that they're that scared. And I guess of just living their life. I mean,
in fear
a wood
of a
or
gas
a
stove.
gas stove, like that little bit of emissions that you have a fan. But now they're walking it back saying they were not talking about banning them. They were talking about regulating them. Well, that's also a load of crap because they're already regulated. What were they going to regulate? That you have to put a fan in? That's already regulated. It's not legislated. It's already regulated. They already have emission standard regulations on them. They already have efficiency standard regulations on them. I mean, what else are you talking about regulating with them other than just an all-out ban? And that's what they were talking about. It was absolutely an all-out ban. When they walked that back, they just got kind of caught with their pants down there.
Oh yeah, they're trying to get rid of wood burning stoves.
Yeah, they were doing the same thing to wood stoves.
Yeah.
And I've never, again, I mean, I've always lived in a red area, so I've never really been privy to a lot of those conversations on why people are so scared of these. But I mean, you look at a clean, properly installed, clean burning wood stove. There's not a lot of smoke coming out. Yeah, there's some when you start it up and when you when the coals are cooling down. But for the majority of the operation, you're not seeing a bunch of black soot come out there. Most of that's caught in the secondary burn chamber, and it is torched going out. I mean, that secondary burn chamber is really, really hot. We burn wood all winter long, and I mean, you just don't see smoke coming out except for it start up and at the end when the fire's cooling down.
Well, in some areas, people can't get homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
If they have a wood burning stove.
Well, and guys, anything that they can't regulate, realize that that's how they'll regulate it. They'll regulate it through using private companies to help regulate it, and that's always the game. So if they can't get it passed through legislation, then they're going to get it passed through regulation. If they can't get it passed through regulation, then they put pressure on the businesses to basically do their bidding for them. Legislation is very difficult to get legislation passed through. It takes a majority vote in the House, majority vote in the Senate, and then has to pass the president's desk. And if there's some disagreement in there, it's very hard to get that. So legislation is hard to pass. Regulation is a lot easier. It doesn't take anybody. It takes the president to say, yeah, I'm good with it. And if he doesn't know what's going on, like on our current administration, then it just takes somebody in charge at a high enough level to make a decision and say, no, we're good. We don't want that crap. And so we're going to regulate it.
Look what Pete said.
New construction on gas appliances. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
okay. So Pete's, I think you're in the Bay Area, right, Pete, for California. Anyways, he's saying that the city next over is outlawing new construction to have gas appliances. And so that's the thing. It's not just gas stoves, it's gas appliances, it's gas furnaces. So you're going to put all these people on electric furnaces. Guys, we live in electric furnaces here in the South. Electric furnaces, probably 50% of the houses I inspect are electric furnaces. They're called heat pumps, not electric furnaces, and they work a little bit differently. But electric is not very efficient in very cold weather. It works really well for the weather that we have, where most of our winter is going to be somewhere between about 25 degrees and 55 degrees, and they're very, very efficient. They work super well at that. But when it goes down below 30 degrees, guys, they don't work well at all. And they're expensive to run. Yeah. They're inefficient, and it's very expensive on the electric side. Gas is substantially cheaper, substantially better at heating, and far more reliable. Electric tends to go out. You have these bad winter storms in. I had one a couple of years ago before you and I were married, and I lost my power, and this was before I had any. I just bought the house. It was before I had the wood stove or anything, and I lost power and didn't have any way of heating the house. I went and stayed at a friend's house. Anyway, so that's a huge problem with the electricity and being the only means of heat. And so trying to get rid of these things, these fossil fuel burning appliances or hard solid fuel burning appliances that allow us to have some control of this ourselves is very, very scary.
It's about control. That's, a whole nother topic. Oh, this is a good question.
Okay. So here's the thing. So Billy just asked, I'm looking to get a home inspector certification here in Georgia. this year as an additional source of income? Do you think now is a good time? So, okay, so a couple things on that, Billy. So first off, in Georgia, you don't need to have a certification to be a home inspector. Anybody can call themselves a home inspector in Georgia. It's one
Which is
of like
crazy.
7 states remaining that doesn't regulate it. No, I'm all about it. I think we should deregulate it. It's not like it's helped us any. We still have crappy inspectors here, just like they do in Georgia. So I'm fine with it. But anyways, Billy, as far as it being a good additional source of income, it's a hard primary source of income right now. This is a really hard market to start your business in, and a declining homeowners market, right, like we have right now. But as a secondary source of income, it's a great option because it's not super time consuming as far as how much you can make, and the I guess
Primary.
the demands on what is required to get into it are fairly minimal. And so, yeah, you're going to have to go around and network with realtors and that sort of thing, but you get to make your own schedule and do that on your time. And that's why a lot of people that are firefighters do it. So, and for those of you watching that don't know, I've been a building inspector now for 7 years, and
7 or 8 years.
and anyway, so and we run one of the largest home inspection companies out of Birmingham, called Timberline Inspections. That's our company. And anyway, so this is something that we've been doing for a while. But Billy, shoot me an email and kind of some of your thoughts with it, and we can talk a little bit more and discuss on there. But bottom line is, yeah, I think it's a good idea as a side income right now. I would not want to start my primary income on it at this point in time. It is a very difficult market right now, and what's going to happen is you're going to see the same thing that happened in 2008. Where 2008, about 50% of the home inspectors nationwide just let their license lapse. And that's because most home inspectors are doing it part-time, and they just do it, kind of a couple houses periodically. And they just decided, it's not even worth keeping this up right now with the market. I'm not getting any inspections in a year. And so,
because you do have to have insurance,
yeah, you do.
Your liability insurance, and it's
not
cheap.
It's certainly a good idea. In Alabama, we're required by law to have it. To maintain our license, we have to have liability insurance, professional liability insurance. Georgia, he wouldn't have to have it, but you'd be really mistaken not to, because people do get very sue happy in this industry. It is a high liability business, which you wouldn't think it would be, but it certainly is, because people get very particular about their house, and there's so much that's subjective about a house, where somebody will say, well, this is wrong. And it's not wrong. It's just not the way that you like it. And so those are a couple of problems. And then they get really uppity about cosmetic stuff, and they'll say, well, the drywall's cracking. That's an obvious structural problem. No, it's just settlement that happens. You need to repaint. But they want you to pay for the repainting. And so that stuff goes on quite a bit. So definitely something to have insurance on. Don't skip that step. But it is a good business, and it's been very good to us. So we are trying to go more to our farm this year, though, and have our farm be our primary source of income. All right, so let's see. So Tim said my heat pump is worthless when it gets below 20 or so. Got to use my wood stove at certain times of the year. Yeah. So Tim, we have a heat pump, and we don't run it unless we're on vacation. We use the wood stove for 100% of our heat. But yeah, heat pumps, they really suck below anything below 30 degrees. They just cost a lot, and they, like you said, they're worthless below 20. They just don't put out the heat the way that gas does. So the idea of relying on this in northern areas is comical. I lived in Alaska for 5 years, and you're not going to get those people to swap over to electric heat. There's just there's no infrastructure for it. There's the power grids going to these people's houses is not strong enough to handle that. Well, and not strong enough to handle that plus your electric car. You'd have to rewire these houses and redo the electrical grid. It's not feasible. All right. Peggy says, prepare for indefinite climate lockdowns. Is it really past? YouTube permits will be required to leave the neighborhood district only.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about the 20-minute stays. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you that, if you don't know what a 20-minute city is, so this was happening in it was in the UK, and I forget which, they have all their shires, they broke them into shires, and it was like, Berkshire and Hampshire and all this different stuff. So it's in some shire. But They so what they're creating is a 20-minute city or a 15-minute city, whatever they want to call it, and they make this perimeter around this area, a circular perimeter, and inside this area will be like your Walmart, and your Kroger's, and
Your school,
your
your
school,
hospital.
your hospital, everywhere, or a dock in the box, probably not a hospital, but a dock in the box, and then basically all your infrastructure will be in this one little area.
That you can get to within 15 minutes.
That you can get to within 15 minutes. And this is supposed to stop climate change because you can walk anywhere in there, you can drive anywhere in there, and you're free to do this. And you can go to other areas, but only so many times per year. And then you get charged each time you go to these other areas, regardless of whether it's in that time per year. And then the fines go up exponentially. So this is not something that affects the very wealthy. This is obviously something that only affects normal folks like us. Because if you're very wealthy, what doesn't cost you $3,000 to go visit a friend, then fines doesn't mean anything. You just pay it and move on. And that's, again, how they get things passed is that, well, you can still do it, so it's legal. We're just putting a tax on it. And
it's all monitored.
It's all monitored, and very, very scary. So, but anyway, so this is what they're talking about, and I guess they're already doing it in the UK in the very start of these. And the talk is can we bring this to the US? And we were talking about this, and because there's constitutional provisions that protect you in your right to travel, right? This is why the sovereign citizens always talk about I'm a traveler, not a driver, and they don't want to get their driver's license. And by the way, I think they're probably right on that, but
another discussion.
Yeah. But the fact is that they're able to do this because of the same legislation that allows them to have a driver's license, because they're simply going to say, well, we can regulate driving. You're still free to travel. You're still free to walk, where nobody's prohibiting you from walking to your friend's house. Got it. It's 30 miles away, but you're still every bit capable of doing that. And if you want to get a horse and buggy and go, you can do that too. You just can't take your car. Your car is what's regulated. And so this is, can they feasibly do it here? I think it'd be hard with America as big as we are. But I think
they might try it in some of the bigger liberal cities.
Yeah, I think they could definitely try it in some of the more larger, more liberal areas. I can see that happening.
I mean, it was regulating where you could work or how you could work. It affected the people over there. If they had to go out of their little city area, their little bubble to work, they could only have so many times. So
so you're limited to working in that area. So if you want to find a new job, if you want to try to get promoted, and you got to travel another 10 minutes to the other plant or whatever, you're SOL. You got to move then and move into the new Shire. This is just bizarre.
Climate change. Global warming.
George Orwell needs to write 2084 as well, because that would be interesting. Okay, so Billy said I had several customers cancel new gas service this week because of the news on the gas appliances. They were returning them to the vendors. Thanks for the info on the. Oh yeah, you're welcome. Canceling new gas appliances because this is so bizarre. Y'all, these things have been installed in people's houses for decades. This is just bizarre that they're now all of a sudden worried about this.
Potential
it's
study.
Like asbestos. Everybody worries about asbestos, and people will panic about this. And I'm not moving to that house that has asbestos siding on it. Well, how often are you breathing in your asbestos siding? Like, what are you so concerned with? And asbestos, as a general rule, is not a problem unless it's disturbed. It's perfectly fine just sitting there. And just because you think that asbestos is not used today, it is. Asbestos is still manufactured and still used. It's just people were a lot more careful about it. But
they market it differently.
Well, and they're not allowed. It's not supposed to be used in residential construction, but they can still use it in commercial and in industrial grade stuff. So you're still around it, but people just think that it's just going to sit there and damage them, being in their insulation in their attic, and it's not. And so this is, again, it just falls into more and more regulation. And every time they do a regulation, they say, we're doing this for your own safety and for your own good. And I'm like, damn it, I'll be responsible for my own safety. And
as long as I know it's there, I can work.
And this is where we come with that Amish farmer and the USDA overreaching into that. Like, how come I can't go buy meat from this farmer who I like the way he raises his meat as an informed consumer that it's not USDA approved? Hopefully that legislation will get passed. I'm really
we're watching that case.
Really hoping that'll go through. So
you're right, Mary. That's right. Let us decide.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this is just bizarre that they want to be in between our food, and even China, as authoritarian as that government is, the freedom that those people have with their food choices is, I mean, they
Mhm.
can go to a local market and eat a bat, right? Saw that.
Yep.
So, you know, the freedom that they have in this totalitarian government that we don't have here, I find
Mhm.
that very, very bizarre that our government has far more overreaching towards people than even this Chinese tyrannical government.
Yeah.
So, okay, is there anything else that we wanted to talk about on today's live chat? Again, guys, I'm sorry we have been kind of out of it, but we are definitely stepping back
Oh,
up.
well, so I don't know
Oh,
about y'all. Oh,
what?
about y'all, but I was at Walmart yesterday and I've noticed they've been having shortages of socks. So we go through a lot of socks with
Oh, that's
grown
right. That's why we had to
kids.
put that in the title.
Yeah. So we have to talk about our socks. So I was looking specifically for a pair of socks and I took a picture. Probably 75% of this huge counter area, display area was empty of socks. So I don't know, it's kind of an essential for us, especially, with farm work, you have to have good socks.
Yeah.
So I noticed that. I've been watching that. And then, of course, eggs. It's just mind boggling to me. I'll go and we don't buy eggs, but I look and the eggs are really low and very expensive at the grocery market or the grocery stores.
Yeah, it's actually good for us because we're going to start producing eggs for next year. So
Yeah.
we will actually have eggs for sale on farm starting in 2024 because it takes a while for the chickens to get to that level. But
Mhm.
so it's good news for us to actually be able to make some money on it. But
Yeah.
I
just thought it was interesting though.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought
definitely.
about socks as being a problem, but
No, but this goes into what we talked about. So we did that video the other day with like the 5 things that people are forgetting to
Mhm.
look at, and like work boots and socks and gloves and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Y'all, you need
Yes.
to have those. Work boots being a big one, always having at least a backup pair on hand. I've got several pairs of work boots because I burn through them a lot here on the farm. Even good quality ones like Danners and Georges, although Danners last me years. And then Georges have lasted me about a year so far and haven't had any problems with them. So
Mhm.
I've been happy with them too.
Mhm.
But the having good quality socks, and I've swapped from cotton socks to
Mhm.
now I'm using all merino wool socks for the most part, or some type of synthetic. And merino wool is a little bit warm in the summer, but even here, if I'm wearing my cowboy boots in merino wool, I'm fine. If I can't wear the Danners or anything like that, but I can wear my Ariats,
Yeah.
and they're fine. And I'm not too hot in them, but so like getting good quality socks. Costco has great pairs of leather work gloves if you guys
Yeah.
want good fitting leather work gloves.
And that's where we were finding your socks.
Yeah, Costco. Yeah.
Yeah, it was at
So,
Costco.
but definitely stay up on that stuff, guys. And I don't see people running on socks like they did toilet paper.
No.
I don't think that'll be a problem. But as things get more and more expensive, things will be harder and harder to get.
Mhm.
All right, let me catch up on the comments here real fast. Infant mode friend
Oh,
for a
that's
while.
right. It has been really hard to find children's Tylenol and children's ibuprofen, or the acetaminophen and ibuprofen. Um, yeah, they're locking them in some areas. Or you have to go to the pharmacy and ask you specifically for them if they have it. The shelves are very, very low on the infant children's medication.
Yeah, we don't tend to use a ton of that. We do mostly herbal medicine.
Yeah.
But we do.
We like to keep a little bit around,
Yeah,
just in
and
case.
Gator gets our youngest. He gets really high fevers, just like I did when I was young, and so
Mhm.
sometimes we give him that to help the fever come down a little
Mhm.
bit, so he can sleep
Make sure
comfortably
he can
and
drink.
Yeah, he tends to not want to drink water,
Mhm.
and so it's always kind of an issue. But
Mhm.
we don't go through a ton of typical medicine. We do,
Mhm.
like I said, we do mostly as we've gotten.
Elderflower.
As
I
we've
like
got
using elderflower tinctures for fevers.
As we've gotten more and more into the herbal stuff, it's been uh, really interesting to see because I always thought it was kind of a bunch of hogwash at first, and so now I've gotten more and more into it and more of a believer.
Yeah, we're gonna add a beginner's line to Ironside here later this year.
Yeah,
Some
so
basic tinctures that I love, and I make the kids use.
Okay, well, I think that's it, guys. Anybody have anything else?
Oh, yes, we're going to do annual Easter potato hunts this year. Easter eggs are too expensive. So we're going to color and dye. We'll probably do family. You didn't know this yet, but yes, we're absolutely going to do that. We're going to color potatoes this year.
We have chickens.
I know, but it's really fun. It's going to be funny. It'll be a great photo op.
Oh boy.
It's a thing. It's a real thing.
That sounds fun. Okay, so hey, last thing, guys, I'll let you all know if you have specific videos or topics that you want to talk about, whether it's specifically stuff that's more farm related. We're trying to do more of the farm related and homestead related videos. They don't
start working on your gardens now.
Yeah, they don't.
Start planning.
The informational ones don't seem to do as well actually on the channel, but I like doing them better, so I prefer to do this. So if you have stuff that you'd want to see, send us an email. It's ironsideranchllc@gmail.com. And so definitely shoot us an email if there's stuff that you want to see. Chickens and sheep. I don't do sheep, Pete. I've studied them, but we don't raise sheep.
If we lived closer, we'd buy sheep off of you.
I think you were talking about for videos.
Oh, well.
We can definitely do more on chickens, but yeah, sheep I don't. We just have never dealt with. We tried goats for a couple years, and I hated goats.
Cows are awesome.
Cows are awesome. Yeah. St. Croix, I know, are a great breed. That's one of the breeds that Greg Judy uses out there on their farm, and I think it's St. Croix and the Catadans is what he likes.
Oh, is that a super chat?
Oh, thanks, Billy.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. So,
yeah.
Couple cows in the yard. So, we do cows, we do pigs, we do chickens.
Yeah. And then our garden.
I don't think there's not a lot of livestock that we want to add. We've talked about when we get the pond adding ducks, but ducks are kind of a hassle. And I'd rather put more effort into improving pigs and cows and chickens.
Yeah. Well, and we're doing meat chickens this year on a larger scale. So you may have some chicken tractor videos and how-tos there.
Yeah.
And then we'll be butchering those. So come on over, come on out and help us butcher.
We're actually firing up the sawmill probably tomorrow to do the chicken tractor. I'm doing brick tomorrow.
Anyway, one of those.
I'm either laying bricks or doing the sawmill tomorrow. But we're going to be building up the chicken tractors that we're doing for meat chickens. So we're going to be raising meat chickens this year. So if y'all do want chicken and you're in the area, definitely let us know. But because all of our orders, guys, if you don't know, we do most of our stuff in bulk. So like people that want chickens are typically going to buy like 10 or 20 or 30 chickens at a time.
We're going to do 50 for ourselves.
Yeah, we'll do 50. That's one chicken a week for us for a year. Yeah. And then and a lot of our customers are that way. And then we sell our beef and our pigs by the whole and by the half. We don't have any beef for sale this year, but we are taking orders for pigs right now. Yeah. So if you guys are local in the area somewhere around here, we do have openings for pigs right now.
Chicken.
Yeah, Pete, I got to figure out the super chat thing too. It's always really nice when I see the super chats come through, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how it all works, and I think we get the money. So I don't think it goes to YouTube, Billy. So I appreciate it. I think it comes to us. I'm sure YouTube takes a cut. But yeah, I don't have any idea how the super chat thingy works either.
How long is the list for half a cow?
So Billy, the half a cow. So the reason that the cows, we kind of just got the short answer is we just tell people we're sold out. The truth answer and the longer explanation is that we are working on our pastures and our breeding stock, and so we didn't want to breed any cows that we were selling simply because we need to keep our herd kind of small right now as we develop more pasture. And that we're trying to get kind of our breeding stock there. So the cows that we have for sale right now are that we've got going to just us and our family are Florida crackers, and they're purebred Florida crackers. And the thing that we found with the Florida crackers is that a lot of customers didn't really care for it because the meat is really, really good. You have the ground beef. It's the best beef in the world. It's phenomenal beef. But the problem is that the steaks have no fat on them. And because we grass feed everything and we finish them out on the sunflower seeds, they struggle to put on fat. And so the steaks and stuff people were getting, they weren't particularly happy with. And so we said,
They're a
okay,
little chewy.
yeah, Melinda didn't like them.
I didn't like them.
And
I love the ground beef.
yeah, the ground beef and the stew meat is
Yeah.
exceptional.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do is we decided, well, let's work on getting our breeding stock where we want it, which we've been kind of doing that for the last like 2 years.
Mhm.
And so we got all good registered Florida cracker cows and heifers, and then we're going to crossbreed them next year. We got one more breeding with registered stock, and then next year everybody will get crossbred with an Angus bull,
Mhm.
and then at that point in time we'll start taking orders again once those calves drop. So
We
we're
had-
probably 2 years away before we're going to take general public orders again. For
Yeah,
cattle.
because we had 4 breeding cows, and 2 of them got pregnant and dropped beautiful bull calves.
Mhm.
But it's going to take 2 years for them to grow up. So we only got 2.
Mhm.
And so that'll be, 1 for us, or 1.5 for
3
us,
years.
or 3 years for them.
Yeah, the heritage breed cows grow so much slower. It's 3 years and they still
Okay.
don't even get that big. So yeah, those are ones that we just kind of keep for us. So anyways, guys, that's the waiting list for a half a cow. It's not so much the waiting list; it's the fact that we're not going to raise irresponsibly, and so we're not
Yeah.
going to raise any more cows than we can handle right now. And
And
so
we're working on more pasture. We just
Yeah.
cleared more land.
yeah, we just had the loggers finished
Mhm.
up actually last week, and cleared about 7 acres on the other side of our driveway.
Yeah.
And so that land over there is going to be fenced and turned into good pasture for us.
Yeah.
And once that starts actually producing pasture land for us, that'll give us enough to do the rotation that we want to be
Yeah.
able to do. So
And then we can grow.
the whole
cows.
property was forested when we weren't together. I bought it, and then we got married, and she moved here. So the whole property was forested at that point in time, and we spent the last couple of years cutting and clearing, and now we're harvesting and trying to take off a bunch of the wood and everything. And so we're going to actually probably start selling firewood this fall, simply because we have so much lumber on the property. Even after they've logged that, we need to start taking the firewood off of it.
Yeah.
So
And that'd be a great side hustle too.
yeah,
Sell firewood.
yeah, the guys, there's tons of ways of making money on the farm. Maybe we should do that next week or something. Maybe we should do a live
video.
chat on different ways of making money on the farm, because there
Mhm.
are so many ways of making money on small land like this that you could make a really reasonable salary with after a couple of years if you put some work into something like this. I mean, there's no reason why you can't make $100,000 a year or more
Mhm.
on a good small
Well-managed.
managed hobby farm. That's like I said, we're 20 acres. There's just no reason why you can't make some good money doing this. I know people think, oh, you need 500 acres to farm. It's just not true.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm hearing the dogs going crazy and
Yeah.
something back there. So it sounds like our daughter's out. So she's out of her kennel.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
So anyway, so we're gonna let y'all go. But I really appreciate you guys watching. Billy, thanks so much for the super chat. And guys, I'm sure all y'all have subscribed, but for anybody that's going to watch this later, please do check us out and subscribe. Hit like the video. That does help us out. Yeah, y'all don't realize how much like the likes actually increase you in the algorithms and everything. So definitely hit the like button. That really helps us out. So anyways, y'all take care, and we will talk to you guys. Probably should have a video out tomorrow or Tuesday. I'll have a video out to you guys. So we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, bye.
Bye.